Rome. All right, I'm going to read a testimonial from one of the organizers, one of the courageous women in New York with Rise Up for Abortion Rights. We were going to have someone else read it, but she's on security, so we don't get fucked with by these assholes. So she was going to read it in Spanish and English, and I'm very sorry, but I'm just going to read it in English. This is from a woman, a courageous sister named Araceli Herrera. And she traveled from San Antonio, Texas to New York to tell her story in front of St. Patrick's Cathedral, which is one of the symbols of the Catholic misogyny and hatred of women. So here's what she said. She said, I'm from Mexico City and I live in San Antonio, Texas. I'm a domestic worker. I grew up in neighborhoods so poor, and I was the oldest of 7. The only way to get out of there was to study, and I was studying in school when I was in a group of classmates, and we went to do a project for school, and the men raped me. They destroyed my life. They destroyed everything. I was so innocent, so stupid. I didn't tell anyone. I mean, it was so painful, so traumatic what happened to me that I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't realize I was pregnant until I was 3 months along. And then I said, now what am I going to do? And I was there at school. I went and I told the nurse that I was pregnant, and I told her what happened to me. I told the nurse I did not want to have that child because I didn't know who the father was. And my father was going to kill me if he found out I was pregnant, and my mom too, because my father was very violent. I even stopped going to school because I couldn't go anymore. My classmates began to notice that my stomach began to grow, and the men, they made fun of me. Can you imagine how hard it was for me? That I suffered because of those miserable bastards who raped me. So I wanted to get an abortion. Yes, I wanted to get an abortion. I didn't want to have this child. I can't in the first place because I was young. I'm a girl. I didn't work. I was studying. I wanted to be a scientist. I had dreams. I want to graduate. I wanted to get out of there. And they said to me, no. No, and I lost everything, everything. I lost my life. I lost my illusions, my dreams. I lost everything. And from there, I was just knocking about through my whole life. Knocking about, blow after blow, suffering because the baby that I had. And this is why I'm in favor of women having the right to choose. Because if I had gotten to choose, my life would not have been messed up. I don't reject my son. I love him very much, but I would have been happier. I would not have ended up far from my country, from my life, from my things, working as a maid, because this is the only thing I can do. Working as a maid all my life when I would have had a bright future because I was a very good student. But I would have had a better future if those no-goods hadn't raped me, and if the laws. What mattered most for me is if they had let me have the right to choose if I was going to have that child or not. And I want to say that no one has the right to take away from us our right to decide about our bodies. Politicians are not the owners of my body. They are not the owners of my destiny. I am the owner of my destiny and of my body. And they don't have to make laws that affect us, that destroy our lives and make us end up as I ended up. We are the ones who have the right, not the politicians, not the priests, not the hypocrites of the churches. They do not have the right to decide over my body. So this is what I want to say. This suffering lasted my whole life because of those absurd, crazy laws. Because you can imagine when you have a child that's the product of rape, not only are you carrying the pain of not knowing who the father was, who he would be, but also when your son asks, "Mother, who is my father?" And he was called in the neighborhood where he grew up, he was called the child of many dicks because I did not know who the father was. And what are you going to say? It hurts you right here. Are you going to tell your son this truth? This hurts your soul, and the days go by, and he's growing up and demands that you tell him the truth. Who is my father? Who is my father? And you have to act crazy, dumb, conceal it to be able to avoid the truth and avoid telling them everything because of some absurd laws that don't allow you to have your right. So this is my story. And it is my enormous desire that we be allowed to choose. Do not take away that right. Do not deprive us of that right, our right to choose. So those are the words of Araceli Herrera, who at 71 years old found her voice and her fury and traveled up to New York City to courageously tell her story. A story that will be replicated millions of times if we do not act. Thank you.